What the heck is up, you guys? It's your boy Ace, aka Animated Heroes, here back with another action figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys Justice League Snyder Cut version, Ezra Miller Flash, and as we all know, the Snyder Cut took everybody by the storm, and I think that everyone that watched it is absolutely in love with it. So I felt like it was a good idea for McFarlane to go ahead and drop these. To be honest, I'm not really a big fan of these because I have all the Mafex versions. So it's not like I needed this one, but there is a particular reason that I picked this guy up, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at that sexy packaging, and then we'll dive right into the figure. For the sexy packaging, it's the same thing we've been getting with everything McFarlane Toys has released that's DC. It says 22 moving parts at the top with the McFarlane logo, has ages 12 and up right here. You do have Flash right there in the window packaging with some of those dope accessories that I actually really like. It says DC Multiverse right there, the Flash JL 2021, and that's because that's the year that the Snyderverse was released. At the bottom, you got all the legal stuff no one cares about. Justice League, the Flash right here, 21 again. Nothing much going on this side. On the back, we do have Ezra Miller as Flash, which I actually like so much more after I watched the Snyder Cut. You do have everyone else lined up down here, including the Black Superman, which I might need to get my hands on. Then, of course, you do have all of McFarlane Toys' social media, so if you want to find them, feel free to go ahead and look them up. But not a whole lot going on here, so let's go ahead and bust this figure out because I'm kind of excited to talk about it. Now, straight out of the packaging, here we do have the McFarlane Toys Justice League Snyderverse Flash, and I gotta say, this is not a bad figure. If you don't have the SH Figure Arts and you don't have the Mafex, this could definitely work as a stand-in. Now, I do have some problems with it I'll discuss later on, but as I said, I picked this figure up for two reasons. One of them is because it was pointed out on the ACBA podcast that this guy is caked up, and I had to get it for that reason in particular. Like, I don't know why they did that. I don't know what's going on with McFarlane, but hey, they decided to give this guy a little cake, so I was like, all right. That caught my attention, but also, I'm joking, but also the accessories, honestly. I wanted to see if the accessories that came with this guy would work with my Mafex figure, and we'll be checking that out later on. But onto this figure itself, it does not look bad. It's not perfect, but mine has a couple issues that I want to discuss, starting with the head. There is all kinds of, like, I don't know, paint splotches or whatever. I don't know how they got that on the forehead, how they didn't see to fix that before they sent this off, but I don't know, man. Mine has quite a few paint splotches, actually. I got some right here, a few along the back, some along the legs. This thing, it's a cool figure, I have to say, in terms of the sculpt. I feel like this is actually one of their better designed figures. Even the face, it doesn't quite look like Ezra Miller, but you can see him in there, like, depending on the angle. So I totally dig that. The sculpt work on the costume for the most part is pretty nice. There's a whole lot of detail in it, just like there was in the movie. But honestly, with as much as there was, it's easy to miss some things, and I mean, that's totally acceptable for me because this costume almost looks like it comes straight out of the movie. Now, the only difference is between this one and the Mafex, I don't know what it is. Maybe because they went with mostly like a solid red in every area. It's all matted out. This one has a few areas that are a little bit more metallic. So maybe that's what makes the suit pop. Also, there's some silver in there. As you guys can see, they painted certain areas. They sculpted them on the McFarlane version, but they're not painted. So maybe that kind of takes away from it as well. I don't know what it is. It's just like this suit is kind of missing something. But that's not to say that it looks bad at all. I just want to cover every bit of the detail that you can see in this guy, just so you guys know what you're getting into. But overall, he looks pretty good. Now, one thing I also want to mention is this is one thing I hate that they do when it comes to Flash figures, especially, or any action figure that comes with these floating crotch pieces. So, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this piece right here is kind of warped. This one is just fine. And if you remember the way that this guy was posed in the package, they had his leg up like this, as if he were in a running pose. Now, that's cool and all, but if you hold a figure in that pose for too long, it's going to warp any kind of plastic like this. And so that's an issue I have with this guy. It's very minor, but as you guys can see, if you tilt this guy to this way, like, you don't see it, but if you turn him this way, you can see some of that warped plastic sticking out. And at this point, I'm just rambling on, but still, overall, solid piece in terms of the detail. He looks pretty good, but let's go ahead and put him back and see how tall he stands. Now, in terms of his height, to the top of his head, the Flash is standing almost 7.5 inches, which I feel like is entirely too tall, because Ezra Miller is definitely not that tall. But this is McFarlane that we're talking about, so nothing scales the way that it's supposed to anyway, which is why I'm not even enthused about picking up the rest of the Justice League, because if I see that this guy stands toe-to-toe with Batman or Wonder Woman especially, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. But I'll do some size comparisons at the end of the video. Of course, it's not going to be the Justice League because I don't have those, but once again, the scales aren't going to match regardless. Moving on to his articulation, he looks up actually pretty well. That's really, really good, and it actually looks like he's looking up. Now, as far as tilting his head down, you don't really get anything, and that's because there's no movement at the neck at all. You get a little bit, actually, you get a lot of tilt. Yeah, you get plenty of tilt, but depending on how you have it angled, it can look weird, and there will be gapping in the neck, so watch out for that. And as far as the arms go, there is what looks like a butterfly joint in there. They put one there on a lot of their figures, but to be honest, they're not effective. It's almost useless because this is as far forward as you can bring the arms. Now, you can cross them if you use the elbows, but you can't. The butterfly joint's basically useless. Unless you're moving back. Forward, you're not really going to get anything. But going up and out, this is where it's the best. That's amazing. They did a great job with that. I'm very satisfied. You do have bicep swivel. You have double jointed elbows, so he can touch the back of his head no problem. He can totally strike a pose, and I'm all for that. Now, the hands also are on a, I believe this is a hinge. You can't pull this off. I don't think it's meant to be pulled off. Now, the only thing I don't like about that is how you have the end of his arm right here, then you have this big joint right there, and then you have the hands. I don't really care for that. I wish they would find a way to hide this just a little bit more, but it's McFarlane. As far as the diaphragm joint, there is one in here. You don't get any crunch forward out of it at all. As far as going back, you get just a little bit, but it looks kind of goofy. Like, the plastic here looks like they just shaved this off and just threw it on top of here. Like, it looks like there was more to it, and they said, cut it, throw it on there. It looks weird. I'm not even going to lie. If you have the figure, then you'll know what I mean. But as far as turning, you can turn left and right. Diagonal movement, you're not really going to get any of that. Now, you can move him at the waist, no problem, and that's where you're going to get the leaning forward from. You're not going to get it at the diaphragm at all. That's also where you're going to get the leaning back. Once again, this piece is going to look weird depending on the angle you have him at, so make sure you watch that. As far as the foot, he can kick forward very well. He can kick back also very, very well. He can do the splits, no problem. He does have, I guess you can consider that a thigh swivel. I don't know. I'm just going to say yes to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think that it is. As far as the knees go, they are double jointed. A little tough, but they work very well, so good job on that. His foot goes down about that much, up about that much. He does get ankle rocker, and he does have toe hinge. So for the most part, it's better than a lot of their figures, but it's still lackluster in certain areas, which we've grown to expect. Now, as far as accessories go, you don't get very many, but you do get something that I think is pretty cool. First off, he comes with these 2 pair of running hands straight out of the package. No other hands, which once again is a bummer, and I'm going to say this in every video. Why do they not give us a pair of fist hands? Just recycle some, do some tooling to them, and throw them in the package after you paint them. It's not that difficult. I don't know why they do that, but no fist hands. You just get these permanent pair of running hands, which have the fingers spread. Some of them are warped on mine, and they look a little weird, but That's all you're going to get in terms of hands. Now, in terms of running, you do get these 4 different effects, and I think these are cool. Once again, these are the second reason that I picked up this figure, and I think you just kind of attach these to him. I'm not entirely sure. I think you just like wrap them around him, and they kind of stick. That's what it looks like anyway. Yeah, all of these are different, and actually I'll show them off first. But I'm going to leave that right there so you guys can see it. But yeah, these, I really love the translucent plastic. Stuff like this I do really enjoy. And I don't think any of these are the same, like I said. It kind of looks like lightning in certain areas. I love how it turns from a white to like a very light blue. That's pretty sick. And then here is the last one, which is probably the best looking one in my opinion. Let's try if we can attach that to the leg. Let's see. Yeah, so you just kind of just wrap these around him, and to be honest, depending on how you have him posed, these can look a little silly, but still, the fact that they threw them in, I'm happy about that. Now, of course, he comes with a card, which is the same image you saw on the back of the box. Here is a little bio. If you want to read that, feel free to pause. And then lastly, you do get a DC stand. And it's the same stand we always get. It's just black and it says DC right there. So overall, accessories, okay, nothing special, but hey, we get something. Now, as far as attaching these to any other Flash figure like I had hoped, it can definitely be done, but the only problem is that the plastic around the area you're supposed to attach is a very soft plastic, which isn't a bad thing, but if it's not a thicker figure like this one, then it's not really going to clamp on the way you want it to, and you'll probably find more problems trying to pose it and get it to look the way you want it to without them falling all over the place or just falling off the figure completely. So yes, it can be done, but I really wish the plastic that wraps around the legs was a harder plastic. That way it would make it easier for you to put these on and them to stay in one spot and look the way you want it to. Moving on to some size comparisons, here he is standing next to the NECA Toys The Boys Homelander and the NECA Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Foot Soldier. Here he is standing next to a McFarlane Toys Batman, and this is an original design by Todd McFarlane. This is the Walmart exclusive version, and the NECA Toys Ghostface or Scream. Lastly, here he is standing next to a McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 Liu Kang and a Storm Collectibles Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero. Even though I did have a few gripes with this figure, overall, I'll be honest, I do like it, but I like it more as a standalone Flash than an actual Justice League Flash. Now, what I mean by that is because scaling isn't something that bothers me so much, but when it comes to McFarlane, it does, simply because their figures are always just absolutely too big, and sometimes when you pose them next to one another, it doesn't even matter the perspective that you are taking the shot at. It doesn't look right, and I don't understand why proportions and scaling isn't something that they've been working on. It's been over a year now. We've had a ton of DC figures come out by them. They've said that they were going to get better, and they just don't seem to be improving. Now, I'm someone who's going to call it out every single time it happens, just because I really want McFarlane to turn into the DC figures that we want. I don't want it to get canceled like DC Icons, like DC Essentials, DC Collectibles, all these figure lines that could have been great, but they just failed to deliver because they didn't listen to what the fans wanted, and it got to the point that people just weren't buying them. I don't want McFarlane to turn into that, because you can see the passion behind the figure making, but it's just that I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is. And despite all my nitpicks, once again, I do really like the figure. I like Ezra Miller as Flash. I like this costume. I like Justice League Snyder Cut Ezra Miller as Flash. Let me correct that before people come through talking about Joss Whedon. But yeah, I really liked his portrayal in that movie. I love what he did in terms of the plot. I'm still not going to spoil anything, but I just loved how he became a very essential character. Everything to me except for the hot dog scene was great. I loved it all. But yeah, overall, I will say, if you don't have the Mafex or the SH figure arts, by all means, pick this up. If you have those and you don't want the accessories, then you really don't need this guy unless you're just a I don't know, a McFarlane collector. Otherwise, hard pass. I got this at Walmart here in Texas. He was only 15 bucks. I think that's what they charge for just about everything McFarlane at Walmart here in Texas. But yeah, other Walmarts, I believe it's $19.99. So if you're interested, feel free to pick it up. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That always helps me out. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I upload new content. And lastly, follow me on everything you see listed in the description below to keep up with my activity outside of YouTube. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and stay safe wherever you are. Bye.